All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got the goat is in the building. Our captain, the legend, Rodrigo Lopez. First off, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. It's been quite a few interesting days, but
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here and obviously talk about what's coming next.
Yeah. So you obviously the announcement earlier this week that at the end of the year you're hanging up the boots, and but a lot of talk about still a couple games left. We got playoffs. There's still a lot of things obviously happening, but I wanna ask about the decision, how you came to it, the process. I'm sure it's not easy to come to that decision, but how you got there and finally make the decision.
Yeah, it's been interesting few days. Some sleepless nights, a lot of emotions, a lot of ups and downs, but I'm so grateful to have people around me that truly care about me, that could help me make this decision a lot easier. Obviously my family that I rely on and that I go to for everything when I need guidance, and I have parents as well, my brother, sister. Um, but yeah, I woke up on Monday morning, and after a few conversations with the club, with Todd, with Kevin Nagel, and Neil, just gave me a better picture of what life would look like after the game. After I hang up the boots, and you know, a lot of players in this profession don't get that opportunity to finish their career where they want to finish, um, and then be involved with that same club, in a different role, in a different job. So, for me, that was just the ultimate reason on why I just decided this is the perfect time. I'm coming back from a big injury. It definitely hasn't been hard. Definitely hasn't been easy this year, physically and mentally. I didn't have an off season. I was rehabbing and putting in a lot of work. So, my body was already, getting a little tired. But at the same time, I might have a little more left in me in the tank. But I'm gonna use that to give it my all these last few weeks. And that was just Monday. I woke up, I went in, and the first person I think I told was Neil, Coach Neil, Coach Martin, who Martin had the privilege of working with me and coaching with me in Chivas USA. So he's seen me since I was 18 years old. Yeah, and then made a call to Todd, and everything from there just became a little more official, and just start preparing for what's next.
So you still have obviously your mind still focused on the season. You want to finish out strong. I know you want to raise another trophy. I want to tell you how cool it is, because the important part of this is the fact that you're staying with the club,
Mhm.
which let me tell you from like my perspective, and I think fans will share this perspective. When you think of this club, you think of Rodrigo Lopez, and so like the fact that you're staying with the club is so awesome and so cool. Um, and I think it's that was the best part of the news, because it wasn't, I we are all huge fans of yours.
Yeah.
So we've been there. We've seen all your historical moments, which we'll talk about here in a second. But seeing now the fact that you are still being a part of the club, because there was years. I remember when I was joined the club in 2018, there was whispers of Rodrigo Lopez of back in the day.
Okay.
Then they got, in 2020 you signed, and like since then, obviously there's been so many historical moments that has happened. And the fact that you are now staying with the club is just next level, man.
No, it's great. For me, it's an opportunity to obviously go into a role that is going to allow me to still be very much involved in the club and on the field side of things. And I've always had a passion to work with the youth. I have my R8 Academy that I try to put time into, and I feel like maybe now I have a little more time to do
Mm-hmm.
so, and take that to a new level. But just working with like young players and seeing how talented our academy is just it's amazing to see. So to have this role come to me made my decision a lot easier to hang up the boots and retire. And I just want to say it just speaks a lot about our club and who is running our club. Um, that's where it all starts. And to know that, um, Kevin Nagel, who's a dear friend of mine, and obviously now the Wilton Rancheria, with Jesus and Chris, backing me, and obviously Todd, who's president of the club, for them to figure out a role for me to be in just speaks highly of what this club's all about.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've given a lot to this club, but at the same time, I feel like, this club is giving me just as much,
Mm-hmm.
just as much. So I'm thankful. Um, I'm excited. I'm super excited. I know it's going to be rough at first, but I'm super excited to take on this new role. It's going to be a lot of work. Definitely is going to be a lot of work, um, but it's good because it's going to keep me busy. It's going to
Yeah.
keep me away from thoughts of playing and stuff like that. And it's going to give me a little more time with my family on weekends and stuff like that. So, a lot of change could be good. And a lot of good things are coming.
Choosing the right health plan for you and your family is simple with Western Health Advantage. Their plans include wellness programs that put you in the game and on the field with ways to stay fit and healthy. Check out their affordable plans that have been helping keep our community strong for over 25 years. Go online to westernhealth.com. Again, that's westernhealth.com. This episode is brought to you by UC Davis Health, where care goes beyond hospital and clinic walls to advance health and wellness, because better health takes more than health care. It's having access to healthy food, supporting communities, and believing in better. Learn more at believe.ucdavis.edu. I would imagine as a pro athlete, the fear of retiring is what do I do next? That has to be, I would assume.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you are going out in the way you're going out, we got a couple big games coming up. Obviously, a playoff run still in the mix, which is also, and we can talk about that a little bit in a second. But that part for you probably made this maybe decision a little easier, knowing, okay, well, I have my next steps laid out, which I would imagine, and I've talked to a couple of the guys as they've gotten older, in the past, of that fear of, well, what is next?
Yeah.
And you have that question kind of answered.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I spoke to my wife about. And I've played for 22 years. I've been in so many locker rooms. I've had so many teammates, and I've had so many teammates that are just, they have nothing after playing. They have nothing, and especially in Mexico. And it's sad to see because, nowadays, they come out here and they're working and they're doing construction, or they're working out on the fields, whatever it is, just doing anything possible to live, So for me to have this opportunity, like I said, I'm beyond grateful. I'm not going to take it for granted. I'm going to work just as much as I was working on the field to make this club successful. And that's what I'm going to continue doing, just in another role, but I'm still going to have the same mindset and the same attitude and the same love towards this club.
All right. So we talked about, and I mentioned just the fact that how much you have meant to this club. There's basically not a big moment. There's maybe a few, but every big moment you think about for Republic. Obviously, you won the 2014 championship, very first year. Obviously, the Miracle of Bonnie, the same year in the game before. We got multiple Open Cup celebrations. The LA Galaxy win, the quick goal was at like a minute and 15 in. It was maybe a little more than that, but it was super quick.
Yeah.
Sporting Kansas City. I mean, there's so many memories, and I know you still want to make a couple more here in this postseason run. But if you kind of give yourself and allow yourself to think back to some of those, where do each of those kind of stand for you in terms of your playing career here in Sacramento?
Yeah. I want to say winning the championship was the ultimate feeling, my best memory, not just in Sacramento, but in my career. Winning championships just changes everything. It changes your life, changes your career, and just the feeling of like being together with a team, with a group of men, fighting for the same goal and eventually reaching it. It's the greatest feeling I couldn't explain to you, but that has to be my top one. And obviously my worst is probably 2 weeks ago, losing to Hartford. it was a great moment. Obviously, we made it to the final, but just seeing, a team celebrate on your home pitch, and seeing some of my teammates in tears, and and feeling down and bad for ourselves, just made it a bad taste in my mouth. But the next day everyone was hungry again to continue and to get better, and to obviously know that we could still fight for the bigger trophy that we ultimately wanted and came into this team for, is to win the USL championship. And I feel like we have an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about that. And we had Neil on, and he kind of mentioned the fact that you mentioned all of these great athletes in the history. One of them, Kobe Bryant, who obviously you have an affiliation to.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about the Laker part of that too much, but um, had a lot of losses in big moments, but what's different is how people respond, how champions respond. And I thought that was such a cool message to hear. It's obviously very true. There's a lot of no matter what, no matter how great of an athlete you are, you're going to have big losses, and it's how you respond.
Yes.
But in terms of some of your big moments in soccer, you mentioned the championship, the Open Cup run. I'm sure it was very magical for multiple different reasons. What is there other than the championship, Miracle at Bonnie? Take that one out. Like, what are those? You don't have to give me the game, but like, tell me the specific moments that kind of stick out to you as moments you'll remember as the most, I guess, as you hang up the boots.
Um, I think there's been a lot. I think coming back this year against Louisville, after such a big injury, and after 10 months of not being able to play the game and step out on the pitch, just seeing the crowd, receive me the way they did,
Yeah.
with your introduction, obviously. That was just a special moment, because I worked so hard for a year to get back. And I made my son a promise that when I got hurt, and that was probably one of the most special games, to see Roman so happy watching me play again.
Yeah.
I truly felt like there's a big significance in that game. And then another one would probably be, away in the Jaeger Cup against Rhode Island, when we won in PKs.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, obviously being able to play another final, winning the semifinal the way we did in PKs, and seeing like Jared, who hasn't played so much in league, but to step up in the Jaeger Cup and save PKs, and be away for two playoff games and win those. It was great. I kind of got emotional that game for whatever reason, but after we won in PKs, just a lot of things popped up in my head. Like when I got injured, it popped in my head, and the whole process of coming back came to me. So it was emotional, but it was also a very, very good feeling.
You mentioned when we had you on last, you talked through about the injury and coming back, and how hard that was, and how you considered hanging it up last year.
Yeah.
The fact that, and the resiliency it took, and I know you made a promise to Roman, which is next level, and you guys healed together, basically rehab together, which is next level. But now you get to go out on your own terms, and not in a forced way, I guess, with an injury. It's got to fill you with so much more pride, right? Because a lot of people probably would have done what you mentioned, which is, this injury is probably going to take it out, but that's not who you are. You are resilient in so many ways. We've seen you come back from multiple injuries. You mentioned the one this year, but you had a big return to Hughes Stadium when we played that game a couple of years ago on the 10-year anniversary. So, but in terms of being able to come back and go out on the way you want to go out, I mean, obviously you want to go out with a championship, but in terms of not letting an injury take you out, it's got to feel, being healthy. Yeah, exactly. It's got to feel really good.
Yeah. Like you said, I take a lot of pride in that, but I told myself, when Todd said, "Hey, we want you to come back, and we want to give you that opportunity to be able to play again and be part of the club." I really took it deep. I took it to heart, and I said, "Look, I'm gonna come back, and I'm not only gonna come back and somehow contribute, or play every now and then, and just be a good captain, a good leader. I wanted to come back and be the best version that I could be." And I want to set an example for my teammates, for my kids. I want them to see me that with hard work, a lot of things are possible to do.
Mhm.
You could accomplish so many things with hard work. And now that I have my academy, that I see all these kids looking up to me, and their bright futures, and they're just so young, but I always talk to them about hard work and what it gets you. So I had to set that example, and it was a perfect way to do so. And a lot of this, I haven't really mentioned it too much, but I think I've mentioned it to you guys maybe in the past podcast. But a lot of it had to do with like Luke and Katie. They put in so much time and effort and work, and they knew how hungry I was. They knew um, what it meant to me to come back. Katie
Yeah.
was there in the locker room when Roman was crying, and he was upset and thought that it was his fault that I got hurt. So
Yeah.
I think she took it personal as well, and obviously Luke and her have an amazing relationship. So
Yeah.
it took a lot of planning, a lot of work, and I thank them for the comeback that I've had, and for me just to be healthy this whole year at my age after a big injury. It's all them,
Yeah.
because Luke is always really careful of what I do every day. And I'm a type of guy who used to go do extra after practice, or go to the gym after practice, somewhere else, not at the facility. But he did such a good job with like giving me a plan, giving me a plan, not just to come back, but to keep me healthy. And same with Katie. All the treatments, all the knee flushes that she had to do was, man, I really thank them, and I'm very fortunate to have them.
They've been here since day one as well, and
Yep,
I'm glad you brought them up because I was going to ask about them.
we're the OGs.
They're the OGs.
Yeah,
There's not many left. They're maybe two of a few.
yeah,
So very very cool to see, and I know how hard they work. And you mentioned Katie. We did a podcast with Luke and Katie last year, and because we talked about the fact that how they take things personally too. Like
yeah,
they injuries, when someone goes out, they are, and especially Katie too, are in the room when guys find out the ACL's torn or whatever it is.
yeah,
And so they have not necessarily that they need buy-in, but they are like invested because they're with you every step of the way.
yeah.
It's pretty cool to see that they've been here so long and have been so impactful on your career in that way.
Yeah, no, 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 for sure. Throughout the years, they've always looked out for me. Katie's been in the room. Uh, for my hip injury, she was in the room when Dr. Haas told me I needed surgery, and she saw me in tears, and obviously, she was in tears as well, and she just said, "Look, I promise you're gonna be okay, and you're gonna come back." And for the ACL one, I think she kind of knew right then when it happened, and when doctor checked me, that it would have been an ACL tear. I didn't know. I was very optimistic. I was hoping it wasn't. And I got the call coming home from a doctor appointment or an MRI saying it was torn. So I didn't get to emotionally be with Katie for that
Sure,
one,
sure.
but I knew that she took it to heart, and that
Yeah.
she was gonna do everything possible for me to come back.
It's a underrepresented part of sports that people don't talk about enough, of
For
like
sure.
how hard finding out the news of how X amount of time you're out and then that rehab process.
Yeah.
So anyway, but let's not talk about that. I want to talk about your new role. Excited to have you as a true coworker in the office.
Yes.
So we'll be seeing each other a lot more, which is exciting. I think one thing I also wanted to mention, and I know we could talk. I feel like I could do this interview for a long time, but one of the things I also think makes you unique and this club unique is to have someone like your character be the leader of this team for so long, and obviously so many great moments on the field, but just the type of person you are, I think is also what makes this moment, this celebration of you, which we'll have on Saturday night, makes it so special, I think.
It is, and with this new role though, I even if even with my 22 years of playing experience, I always wanted to learn more.
Mm,
Like, just this year I learned so much from Coach Neil, and the previous years, with Mark, and different coaches that I've had in Mexico. I've always wanted to learn more, and I always felt like I needed to be a better player. I
Hmm.
was never like the complete player, and I just felt like there's always ways to improve and things, you know. So now with this new role, you know, I'm starting from zero. You know, maybe not zero. I have my
Right.
coaching licenses. Okay, don't get scared, Todd. Don't get scared.
Todd doesn't listen.
um,
Todd doesn't listen. It's fine.
he doesn't listen.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
Eder might be a little
Er-
scared. No, but no. But you know, I'm basically starting from, you know,
Sure.
it's pretty new to me, but I'm so excited because I want to learn so much, you know, and I have such good people around that I'm sure I'm going to learn from, you know, Eder, who's done a great job in the academy. You know, Coach Martin, Coach Neil,
Mhm.
Todd, who's been a player and has been, you know, a director and a coach as well. So just being able to be in this new role, I'm excited and I'm looking forward to the new challenges. I'm sure it's not going to be easy, but you know, I think it's something that's really going to suit me, not just in the near future, but you know, in the long run of what I really want to do. So I appreciate the club, you know, finding a role for me that's really going to suit me playing for 22 years.
22 years, man. That's
It's a long time.
it's a long time.
It's a long time.
All right, let's wrap up with yes, this is all happening. Still got a couple games left. We're recording this on a Tuesday. It'll go out Thursday, and then a playoff run. So obviously, this is going to be an emotional couple days, week for you.
Mm.
Totally understandable. And then you also, as a leader, have to focus. You got playoffs coming up, so it's that alone. Would you would say, oh man, that emotionally is tough, but you still have so much to play for here. How are you balancing those? How are you finding time to do a little bit of both?
Yeah, I'm just taking it day by day. I mean, I I want to play as many games as I can, you know, and I'm gonna do everything in my hands to in my power to play 6 more games,
Mm.
5 more games. You know, get to that championship game. But I just feel bad for like my wife and my kids. You know, they've had to deal with so much these last few days, and you know, so many emotions, and they've done such a good job to be there for me and to help me throughout this process. So, you know, I know they're gonna listen, and I appreciate them very very much. I love them very very much, um, and I mean, Saturday is gonna be special. You know, not just for me, but I think for everyone who's helped me throughout my career, who has suffered, you know, through all the downs and obviously have enjoyed the highs in my career as well. You know, my parents, hopefully they're able to make it. My brother and my sister, I know will be there. Um, you know, they've been a huge part of my career as well. So it's a celebration for everyone, you know, not just for me. I want the fans to witness, you know, what I've given them every year that I played for this club. And I've said it before, every time I put on this crest and this jersey, I want to give the fans joy. Um, I know it takes a lot to buy tickets and, you know, come out to the stadium and take your whole family. So I want to make it worth it for them, you know, just like I always have.
I think that's awesome. And then we got a home game for playoffs, which I know is always a goal. You want to get as many home games as you can, as high a seed as possible. You guys now know we have a home game. We play on the Sunday, November 2nd. How important is it that you guys got that higher seed, clinched a home playoff game, know where you're playing week one? How much does that focus into like to your guys' psyche heading into the playoff run?
Uh, yeah, I mean, obviously we want to end as high as we can because we want to play as many games as we can as well. We want to get to the final and be able to host as many games as possibly have in Sacramento. Um, but we're gonna take it, you know, just how we have all season, one game at a time. Um, you know, the guys deserve a lot. You know, the guys have put in so much work this season, and you know, just preparing for Saturday. You know, we want to finish the season off strong. You know, mentally it helps a lot to go into a playoff game knowing that you won your last game, that you're coming off a good game and you're ready for that next playoff game, you know. And obviously we mentally I feel like we have a little bit of an advantage because we've just played a final not too long ago. We've been in this situation before this season, and we know what it takes. You know, the things that we could fix and the things that it takes to hopefully get us through. You know, these next couple games get us to a final game again.
You started your career in Sacramento with a championship. It would be
What a story that would be, huh?
what a story it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
perfect ending.
Be a perfect ending. I think we leave it there.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. Not just for coming on. I'm going to say that too. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything you've done for the club. I know there's going to be many more things. I know this is not goodbye, but thank you, man.
No,
Thanks for always coming on. Thanks for always, like last time, I feel like every time you come on, we have a real good conversation. Just being a great person representing the club on and off the field in the highest manner is next level, man.
I appreciate it. And hopefully it's not the last time we sit here together.
It's definitely not.
You know, hopefully next time it's a little more fun and we could enjoy it a little more. Yeah. But no, it's always great coming here with you. And, you know, we have a lot of respect for you and what you do as players as well. The way you speak about us and the positivity you always have with us. We really appreciate it. I hope you know that. Not just coming from me, but it's just from all of us, you know, as teammates. We appreciate everything you guys do.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Well, thank you, brother. And good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
And let's get to the playoff run. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Thanks.